On today's show, we've got a full preview ahead of tonight's matchup between the Ottawa Senators and Nashville Predators.
Plus a surprising injury update as David Perron is out long-term.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, and after the morning skate, Senators head coach Travis Green announcing that David Perron will be out for the next 5 to 7 weeks with a sports hernia that requires surgery.
A bit of a shocking piece of news here, Ross. David Perron out long-term, needs surgery, and he had played in last game. He played consistently. There didn't look like there was any sort of injury or anything kind of hindering him or slowing him down. He seemed to be playing just fine. So who knows when this happened and when it escalated to the point where they decided he was going to need surgery. But we did see that yesterday in Belleville's lineup that Stephen Halliday was not on the lineup and did not play. So that raised some questions from Sens fans like, hey, is Halliday hurt? Is someone hurt on the Sens? Is there a trade coming up? But now we have our obvious answer as one man out and one man called up here.
Yeah, huge opportunity for Stephen Halliday we'll get to in a minute. But for David Perron, he had played all 49 games for the Ottawa Senators this season. He had 10 goals, 15 assists, 69 shots on goal, all while averaging only 13.26 time on ice per game. That's the fewest minutes per game that Perron had played since he was a rookie in the 2007-2008 season, but he had taken that spot in stride. That ringer line of the Stanley Cup champs with him, Nick Cousins, and Lars Eller had done a lot of good things in their small sample size together. Unfortunately, it was a bit overshadowed between Nick Cousins and Perron's undisciplined penalties, but Perron's been clutch in certain moments. You think back to that Chicago win at home where he scored twice in the third period to put that game to bed. He is a valuable member of the team in his own way. So really curious to see how they withstand this loss. But one good piece of news from this is the timing. And Travis Green did say this has been bothering him for quite a while. He's been playing through the pain and hadn't missed any practices by the looks of it either. But with all that said, Pilsy, 5 weeks, which is the higher end in terms of hopefulness that he gets back at the quicker end of his range. That would be the first game after the Olympic break. So the fact that 3 of the 5 weeks during the time he's out, there's no games. I think they may have thought about that during the decision that now would be a good time, if there's ever a good time, to get the surgery required.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That definitely could have been a factor. And also like a veteran guy, if this had been lingering for a while, you really don't want to push it too much. I mean, David Perron missed a good chunk of last season due to injury. He's played a lot of games. You mentioned it. He was a rookie in what, 07? Like
07, 08.
He's got a lot of miles on those legs and on that body. So if it's something that's bugging you, I think it's the right move to try to utilize that Olympic break as time to recover.
He's also 7th on the team in power play points. He has 8 of them so far this season. And you look at kind of what he does best on that second unit is hound pucks, the recoveries, retrievals in the offensive zone off of rebounds. But it's kind of what Stephen Halliday can do as well. And we saw that when he was up for that extended look during Lars Eller's injury, that he was on the second power play unit. So is it as easy as just putting Halliday in Perron's spot with the man advantage?
I think most likely, Ross. And then if it's not going to be Halliday on that spot, because we've seen Halliday play second power play unit, then I think you're probably looking at Fabian Zetterlund could also take his spot there, because I think that's a guy that you'd like to find a way to get going offensively. So putting him on the power play could help out there. Like if you've got a second power play unit of Shane Pinto, Ridley Gregg, Claude Giroux, Thomas Chabot, and then you plug in either Halliday or Zetterlund there, I think that's looking good. I think I actually lean towards Zetterlund, Ross, just because I want a shooter on that unit.
Yeah, Zetterlund only averaging a minute 14 per game on the power play this season. And if you look at it, Halliday is averaging 2:04 per game during obviously, the 18 games that he's played. Stephen Halliday has 3 assists in 18 games, but man, if you thought that he needed to go back to the AHL, the answer is
6
no.
assists, Ross. Don't count the dish short. He's got 6 assists in 18 games.
I was looking at the power play numbers. Thank you for that. 3 power play assists. Yes, 6 overall on the season. And what he did down in Belleville in the 5 games since being sent back down, I mean, he proved he does not need to be down there anymore. A goal and 6 assists during that 5 games. He had at least a point in every game. He was a plus player, +4 in those games. He was shooting the puck as well. Like, he's a National Hockey League player, so you hate to see guys get injured, but if there was an opportunity here, the Sens look like they have a guy who can fill that void.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy what he did in that short sample size. He went back down to Belleville, and he, like, what an injection of life into that team. When he was there, Ross, for the 5 games, the Sens went 4-0-1 in the games that he played. A 6-3 win, 6-5 overtime loss, 3-2 overtime win, 5-4 overtime win, and 5-4 shootout win. And then, not to mention, last night he didn't play, but they get the 3-2 overtime win as well. So that really boosted the spirits of the boys down in Belleville having Halliday there.
Definitely it did. So we'll see what happens tonight. We do know from the morning skate that it will be a 4th line of Lars Eller with Nick Cousins on one wing and Stephen Halliday on the other. Let's go through the rest of this lineup. No changes from the win in Columbus. Tim Stützle between Fabian Zetterlund and Drake Batherson. Dylan Cousins centering Brady Tkachuk and Ridley Gregg. And then Shane Pinto with Michael Amadio and Claude Giroux. On the back end, Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, Tyler Clevin with Jordan Spence, and the expectation is that James Reimer starts again in goal with Hunter Shepard likely backing him up, although Linus Ullmark was on the ice this morning and was in one of the nets getting his reps in. So we'll await to see more news when it comes to Linus Ullmark, but the big story today is David Perron is out and Stephen Halliday will be his replacement. Pilsy, who's your locked-on player to watch for the Sens?
I'm going to be locked on to number 7, captain Brady Tkachuk. We talked about it a little bit on yesterday's episode, but it's going to be interesting to see if he plays with a bit of edge to his game, seeing as this is the team and Roman Josi, the captain of the Nashville Predators, was the player that injured him at the start of this season. So we'll see if there's any kind of revenge thoughts, or if the game gets chippy, or if we see Brady kind of really tagging along with Roman Josi, who, by the way, will be playing in his 1,000th game tonight, ironically. So that's kind of funny. And not just that, Ross, Brady Tkachuk quietly has been very good recently since the New York game. So 4 games, he's on a point streak. He has got 4 points in that Rangers game. Goal against Montreal, that's 5. Assist against Detroit, that's 6. And a goal against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So he has 7 points in his last 4 games. And up against the Nashville Predators in his career, let's see, 13 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. So not bad. But yeah, I'm really going to be watching Brady in this one.
I like that. And also, you look at it, Nashville ruined the Senators celebration in the home opener this year.
Yes.
Time for Ottawa to ruin Roman Josi's celebration in Nashville tonight. The Senators got a shutout win in Nashville last year. That was one of the prime broadcasts. Shutout Bratzy. Remember, he was behind the intermission panel, just having an absolute blast. We'd love to see that. And we know there's a decent number of Sens fans that get out to these games. Tonight on the postcast, we'll have our guy Nate Diordio on, a diehard Sens fan who grew up in the Binghamton area, and he's in Nashville now, so he'll be able to give us the lowdown of what we see tonight. We will also have a live stream for tonight's game. Jack will be carrying the torch, but Pilsy's going to jump on first period. I'll jump on in the second period to discuss as the game develops. My locked-on player tonight will be Tim Stützle. I'm not rewriting the wheel here. I think when you have a superstar player who's playing up to the best of his abilities, you just keep rolling with that. He's coming off that 2-point performance against Columbus. It could have been 2 goals, but he said, no, Brady, you get your cookie tonight. He also had those 2 points against Montreal. His last 2 goals have both been highlight reel material. The between the legs against Montreal and the let's go around the entire zone against Columbus before burying. And if you look at Nashville, which we will up next, like they've got some old dogs between Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. So you look at they also have some youth. Don't get me wrong. Matthew Wood's there, Fedor Svechkov's there, among a few others. But you look at the centers, it's likely going to be a matchup between Ryan O'Reilly. And if they get that line up against Timmy, sure. Is Ryan O'Reilly great in the corners? Absolutely. Is he really good on faceoffs? For sure. But if you get them in open ice together, Timmy needs to be on his speed game tonight. I think that's going to be a huge key to victory for the whole team. But the matchup that I'm watching most closely is Timmy with the puck on his stick, shaking defenders, especially the centerman that's matched up against him, and creating open space for either himself or his teammates.
Yep, I like that. Speed up against this Preds team, I think definitely is the way to go, especially with how big their back end is. You're probably not going to be able to out-battle them that many times. Ross, I want to touch on, you had a bit of a Pillsy-ism earlier where you get a cliche or an analogy not quite right.
What I do.
Rewriting the wheel?
Nice!
I think
what
it's
is it?
Reinventing the wheel. I'm not sure when the cavemen invented the wheel. They did so through writing and literature. So I knew what you were saying, but I had to laugh when I heard it because that's something I would typically do. So maybe we'll change it, Ross, to rewriting the wheel.
Rewriting the wheel, or more commonly, reinventing the wheel.
There we go.
Is an idiom to waste time and effort creating something that already exists or works well. So, hey, they are acknowledging that it could be, but yeah, I definitely meant to say reinventing the wheel.
You're just a trendsetter, Ross. Maybe we'll get that flipped and reinventing the wheel will be the less commonly used word now that you heard it on the Locked On Senators podcast.
Throw that on the old Urban Dictionary. It's game day for the Senators, though, and note the start time. It's a Central Time start, so that means 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. The Ottawa Senators taking on the Predators. On the other side, we'll look at the numbers behind these two teams and which one has the advantage. We'll dive into the Predators numbers. Plus, Pillsy alluded to Belleville last night. I know a lot of people are curious to know how Levi Merrilainen did in his first game since being sent down. Those conversations are all coming up next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Sure, watching at home on your couch is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. That's why we always go for a boots on the ground report on the postcast. We want to hear what it's like to be in the building, and you can do that with Game Time. Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. Even a guy like me can use it. One of my favorite features is seeing the view from my seat before buying. So if you're going to a road game, you know exactly what you're getting. You're not going to be sitting behind a pole or not going to be able to see the game if you use the view from your seat. Zone deals are clutch. You choose a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save. And I love that the fees are included up front. So the price you see is the price you pay. No nasty upticks in price right when you're checking out. And it's all backed by the Game Time guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen each and every day and helping us be the #1 show on the Locked On NHL podcast channel. We also appreciate you helping us make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Now, make it official. Go ad-free to wherever you get your podcasts. You can go to the link below, lockedonsenators.supercast.com to learn more. All right, Pillsy, 8 o'clock start tonight. It will be a TSN game, but as we mentioned, the live stream is back, and join us, Jack Richardson and friends, live on YouTube. Please subscribe. Does go a long way to helping the show grow. So we talked about the Ottawa Senators already in tonight's game. Well, let's look at the numbers behind the action going into tonight. The Predators have been playing much better hockey over their last 20 games, but the last couple have not gone their way. They're 3-2-1, but with 2 straight losses heading into tonight. They have a 23, 22-4 record. They average almost a half goal less per game than the Ottawa Senators, and they allow more goals per game. Not a lot of times that's happened so far this season. It's very close, though. 0.04 goals more per game. The Nashville Predators, one of the lowest shooting percentages as a team this season at exactly 10%, a whole percentage and a half less than the Sens. They do have a little bit better of a team save percentage. They've got a much better penalty kill, but the Senators hold the majority of the better stats in this one. If you look at faceoffs, power play, team shooting percentage, all the 5-on-5 stats. But I will throw to you with this, Pilsy. Despite the Ottawa Senators being one of the top teams in terms of shot quantity percentage and quality percentage, Nashville's just behind them. Ottawa's 5th in Corsi percentage, Nashville's 6th. Ottawa is 5th in expected goals percentage, and Nashville is 7th. So both of these teams do a lot of good things to get the puck in the right spot. The only difference is the Sens are burying it a little bit more often.
Yeah, and it's crazy how cold these Nashville Predators guys have been, especially that offseason where everyone was kind of anointing them the winners of the offseason with massive free agent signings in Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea. But I think the real number I'm looking at here, Ross, is it is crazy to see us have a yellow font on the Ottawa Senators for goals against per game. 3.35 for the Sens and a 3.39 for the Nashville Predators, especially with a team that has a guy like UC Saros, who is often regarded as one of the most consistent, better goalies in the league. Saros sitting at 19-16-3 record, a 301 goals against, and an 897 save percentage. So a team that scores quite a bit in the Ottawa Senators. They got to find ways to be able to beat Saros again tonight.
Yeah, they will. And Nashville's 29th in the league in goals against average. The Senators are 27th in the league. St. Louis right between those two teams. So how will Nashville line up for tonight's game? Their number one center is Ryan O'Reilly between Philip Forsberg and Luke Evangelista. They doubled down with Eric Howla and Michael Bunting with Steven Stamkos. The third line, two kids and the vet, Fedor Svechkov and Matthew Wood, is alongside Jonathan Marchessault, a player whose name came up yesterday as we talked about some trade potential needs for the Ottawa Senators. Then the fourth line is Michael McCarron with Cole Smith and Ozzy Weisblatt. Then you look at the back end, it's Brady Shea with Roman Josi, Nick Hague with Nick Perbix, and then Nick Blankenberg with Justin Barron. You already alluded, it is confirmed UC Saros will start in goal. Who's your lookout player to watch on the Predators?
Well, since we talked about him in yesterday's episode and I'm the one that brought him up, I'm going to be looking out for Jonathan Marchessault here on the third line with the Nashville Predators, and not been a great season for him. In 30 games, only 7 goals, 3 assists for 10 points. He's a -20, and Ross, he scored 7 goals, 4 of them are on the power play, so only 3 even strength goals. And it's crazy that just a couple of years ago, this guy scored 40 goals. He's averaging 16 minutes, 34 seconds of ice time. And where I'm really looking at Marchessault is he seems to like to play the Ottawa Senators in his career. 21 games, 14 goals, 9 assists for 23 points, so above a point per game whenever he plays the Senators. A Quebec City kid, so I'm sure he gets up for these types of games. And I want to be looking out for him to see what's going on. I know these Nashville players, a lot of them have gone cold, but it's just crazy to see the drop-off here for a Conn Smythe winner not that long ago.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Do you mind if I do 2?
You know what, Ross? I will allow you to do 2.
Philip Forsberg, who everyone knows, big fan of the city of Ottawa.
Yep.
We mentioned Brady has 7 points in his last 4 games. Philip Forsberg has 7 points in his last 3 games, including 2 3-point performances. He's got at least a goal in 3 straight games, adding 2 assists to the mix there. He's an extremely dangerous shooter. And I don't know if this makes me more or less nervous, but did you know that Philip Forsberg has scored fewer goals against the Ottawa Senators than any other team in the National Hockey League? And I'm counting the Utah Mammoth in there too.
What?
He has fewer goals against Ottawa. He has 2 goals in 18 games in his career against Ottawa. He's got 4 goals in 5 games against Utah.
That's crazy. Great stat there, LOSP stat department. Yeah, I mean, Forsberg is the number 1 dangerous player on this team. I would even say ahead of Roman Josi. Like he's just so good offensively. You got to be looking out for him.
And you also have to be looking out for his centerman, Ryan O'Reilly, who earlier this season said hockey just isn't that fun right now, because they were losing a ton at the start of the season. Well, he took it upon himself to be the guy. He's also got 8 points in his last 3 games. He's on a 5-game point streak where he's got, 11 points in his last 5 games, Pilsy.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly continues to be a good player. And at that price point, it's going to be interesting to see how long the Nashville Predators will decide to hold on to him. I think
he signed it next year too. Reasonable number.
That's the thing. Like you could get a good return for that. But I believe Elliot Friedman was saying that like he doesn't really want to go anywhere. So no. I think he likes being there. So unless he has a change of heart, I think Nashville's going to do right by him and say, hey, if you want to stay, we're happy to have you. So we'll see what happens there.
But like Nashville's still like very much in the mix with the way they've played over the last while. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot right now in the Western Conference. And any of those Central teams, you're going for the wild card, right? Like Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, they've already like got a stranglehold, a 10-point plus lead on anybody else in their division. So they're really going to be pushing here for the wild card. And if you look at Ryan O'Reilly, in his last 27 games, he has 34 points. That's incredible. Like wow. He's 34 years old. He's a plus 10 with 3 game-winning goals over that stretch as well. And he's going 54% in the face-off dot. I don't know how much we'll get it tonight, but I would love to see a nice little face-off battle between Ryan O'Reilly and Claude Giroux, 2 of the best in the business. That would fire me up.
Yep, that would be good. Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Nashville decides to line match up against the Ottawa Senators here.
And we'll watch for that later tonight. On the other side, we've got keys to victory and a recap of Levi Merilainen's performance last night with the Belleville Senators. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Sens, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen each and every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Pilsy, big one tonight for the Senators. They come into this game 3-0-2 in their last 5 games. And dare I say, the out-of-town scoreboard has been very good. Not perfect, but very good over the last 2 days.
Yeah, you can't really complain based on what the out-of-town scoreboard was like in the past for us. You're looking at the Utah Mammoth beating the Philadelphia Flyers in overtime, and Garnet Hathaway, I mean, oh my God, he's got a breakaway with an empty netter, but he's a little too nonchalant there, Ross, and the Utah Mammoth defender catches up to him and lifts his stick right before he's about to shoot it, and then you lose in overtime, so that's a tough one. The Seattle Kraken take care of the Islanders 4-1. The Vancouver Canucks, we are all Canucks, they beat the Washington Capitals in regulation 4-3. That was the big one.
Well, and they were down 2-0 5 minutes into the game. Vancouver was. And then they said, nuh-uh, not tonight. They'd given up 2 power play goals in the first 9.5 minutes of this game. And then they just came back. They tied it before the end of the first period, took control of the game in the second with a pair of goals, gave back 1, but win this game in regulation. That was the big one. Only problem with last night was Detroit and Toronto going to overtime, but at least Detroit was able to win. So just 1 point there for the Maple Leafs. Tonight on the out-of-town scoreboard, we're looking at the Vegas Golden Knights to beat up on the Boston Bruins. That game is in TD Garden. You've got Buffalo playing against Montreal, so plug your nose. You're probably looking for a Habs win there, unfortunately. And then you've got Dallas, who stumbled of late, but they're going to be in Columbus tonight. And then some more East versus West. You've got Winnipeg hosting Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers. You've got Edmonton hosting Pittsburgh, a battle between Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry. They both got their new buckets this time at least. Yep. And then the nightcap, you're looking at Minnesota to beat on the Detroit Red Wings. Be nice to see finally Detroit having to play on the second half of back-to-back after they've played a bunch of teams who played the night before. So, yeah, this East versus West continues around the National Hockey League, including with the Ottawa Senators, who are now 4-7-0 on the road against the Western Conference this season, which isn't good to begin with, but they're 1-5 in their last 6. The only win took us to be boots on the ground. And if that sounds familiar, it is. If you remember 2 seasons ago, Ottawa went 1-14-1 on the road against the Western Conference, and we were at that one win in Winnipeg. Then last year, they were 8-7-1 on the road. So they've already matched their regulation losses as they had last year, Pilsy. They got to find a way to get some against the West, because that's where you're really looking for positioning, and you're looking to take points that can help you going forward.
Ross, we've said this so many times, and we've talked to executive members of the Ottawa Senators. We will gladly go to games on the West for the road trips if it's all expenses paid. And you might be thinking, like, look, that's a little bit much to ask, but how much are these wins worth for you?
Yeah,
Ottawa Senators. Like, Ross and I
nice place to stay and a few matcha lattes, and I'll be there.
We don't ask for much. Just get us the flights. Although you're a big bougie flyer, you need your
no. I just need a little extra leg room. I'm not in the front of the plane, but I'll pay the $50 to get the first rows behind it for sure. But
you mean you'll have the Sens pay the $50?
That's what I'm saying.
Let's not lose our leverage here, Ross.
But
I'm already
in the West, Pilsy. I'm already in the West, so it's cheaper for them.
There you go. It's easy. So just if you spend a little extra, think of how many more wins you could get up against the West. That changes. Like, even if you fly us out to 6 or 7 games a year, Ross, like, that changes your playoff percentage and playoff hopes drastically. So once again, we implore the Ottawa Senators executive members, owner Mike Landlauer, spend a couple extra bucks, get us to those games, and change the fortunes of this franchise forever.
Yeah. Hey, the offer is on the table. Speaking of boots on the ground, we mentioned it yesterday. We are really working hard to try to get to Ottawa for March 14th, 15th. When it's all set, we'll try to do a nice little pregame meetup, and it's an afternoon game. We got some thoughts. About what we could do after the game. Maybe a little shinny, maybe rent out the arena at TD Place. Maybe it lands down a little shinny. Who knows? We'll see as we continue planning that, but stay tuned here on Locked On Senators. So for tonight against Nashville, Pilsy, I told you my key to victory is going to be beat them with speed, beat them with efficiency in the offensive zone. They had a great puck possession in the O zone against Columbus. So just keep pounding down low and don't let the Predators and their crowd get into this game.
My key to victory is going to be make it easy on James Reimer. He's got 2 solid games so far, but this is still a goalie that needs to get his reps in. And I want the Ottawa Senators defenseman clear those lanes, give him clear sight lines. If there's a rebound, make sure you're getting on it. Don't get too cute in the defensive zone. Don't try to force those passes. If you got to chip it out, just get it out. It's fine. Play a clean, simple, responsible game in your own end so Reimer can do his thing and we can keep that momentum and that positivity and that confidence going. So that's going to be the key to me. Keep things outside, clear lanes, clear rebounds, clear the puck. A lot of clearing is what I'm asking for here.
James Reimer 7-4-0 in his career against Nashville with a .915 save percentage and a 2.62 goals against average. Speaking of goalies, Pilsy, Levi Merrilainen was back in Belleville. Well, with Belleville, they played a road game, starting a 7-game road trip against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, and he was going up against his old Carpat teammate from Liga. I'm sure you had a few scouting trips to go watch those two together over there, and it was a bit of a goalie duel, but Levi Merrilainen stood tall, especially through the first 2 periods. Belleville cleaned it up in the third. He only had 3 shots against in that third period, but through 2 periods, he had faced 26 shots and made 25 saves. He ends his night with 27 saves on 29 shots and above .900 save percentage and gets the victory. It was pretty much everything you would have hoped to have seen from his first game back in Belleville.
Yeah, and not really that surprised, Ross. We know Levi Merrilainen has this in him, and I think it's good to get a new environment, go to Belleville, a team that's hot right now, and get that confidence back. So that's awesome for Levy. We hope to have him continue to start games and continue to play well, rack up some W's. But Ross, I want to talk about put some respect on Xavier Bourgault's name. I mean, my God, he scored a great goal to open up the scoring, and then he sets up Lassie Thompson perfectly for the winner. And I know all eyes have been on Arthur Kaliev this year in Belleville, as they should be, leads the AHL in points. But Xavier Bourgault, second on the team in points, 37 points in 41 games, 14 goals, 23 assists. I said in the offseason, Ross, I know people are down on Bourgault, but this is my guy this year, and I want to see what he's got. And he's really stepped his game up. I mean, he's smashed his career high. Well, I guess not fully smashed, but he's passed his career high of 34 points in the AHL in his first year with the Bakersfield Condors. But that was in 62 games. So 21 less games, and he's already beat his personal best. So let's keep it going for Xavier Bourgault here.
Yeah, nice to see. I mean, he's 9th in the American Hockey League in points right now. So
solid.
Let's keep it rolling. Unfortunate that in his first NHL game, he had a 500 on-ice save percentage, but still felt like he looked good in that game against Toronto. We'll see if he gets another look at the NHL level. Tyler Boucher went hard into the boards 2 games ago. He missed last night, just day-to-day for Tyler Boucher. We're hoping he's back soon, man. This guy cannot catch a break. He cannot catch a break. And when he's in the lineup, he's been playing well this year. So they need him back and need him back soon. He's got 11 points in 17 games for Belleville. So hopefully he returns to action. Belleville will continue their road trip tomorrow against the Providence Bruins. So they need to keep stacking points down there. There's no way around that. And Providence is a really good team. They're 27-8-1 on the season, second in the Atlantic. But I mean, Wilkes-Barre's first in the Atlantic division. So Belleville just needs to just focus on themselves here and continue in a very tight North division. I know they've played more games than anybody else in their division, but they just need to continue stacking points. And they are 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. And as you mentioned, as you were going through the scores earlier, like they've just been playing overtime every single night, it feels like.
It's crazy. A lot of extra hockey for our fans in the Bay of Quinte there. And they're 5-0-1 in their last 6, Ross. So we got to keep this going because, yeah, the Belleville Senators have played the most games in the AHL.
Four more than a few of the teams in their division.
Yeah, so teams are going to be making a push to catch up with you there, and you're barely hanging on to a playoff spot here. Just 2 points ahead of the Cleveland Monsters, who you have 5 games up on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Belleville, that's tomorrow. New game for them. But for Ottawa, you got to get these 2 points, right? I know we've been saying that for a while, and they have, for the most part, come through. They just might have heard get 2 points on the weekend. They might have just thought, like, for the whole weekend, but we meant each game. But tonight's going to be huge because you're coming home. You got Carolina waiting for you on Saturday night, and then you've got the Vegas Golden Knights, who will be coming off a very emotional game on Friday where Mitch Marner will make his return to the city of Toronto. That's going to be must-watch TV, the reaction for them and all the Leaf fans who are just as hypocritical as can be because they have given it to Islanders fans over a number of years for how John Tavares was received when he came back, and now shoes on the other foot. So maybe the library will actually be loud for once for that game. That's tomorrow where those 2 teams will play. But for tonight for the Ottawa Senators, they are minus 114 on FanDuel. Nashville is minus 105. So it's really a pick'em game here if you're looking at it from a betting perspective. And in the last 5 games, man, you talk about the offense for Nashville. Like Roman Josi also has 10 points in his last 5 games. My final question for you on today's show is, will there be any retribution for Roman Josi's hit in the home opener that forced Brady Tkachuk to miss 20 games?
I don't think anything serious, Ross. Like, I don't think we're going to see a fight happen because of that. And
Mike Kartner? Matt. No Matt Kartner, just 1-2 like he did in the playoffs against the Rangers.
No, I don't think so. Now, could it get chippy? Could we see Brady kind of give a little extra?
Well, he doesn't have a right, but he'll just throw laughs.
Yeah, seriously. And especially the fact that it's Yossi's 1000th game. I mean, it'd be pretty crazy just
Very
to go after him.
veteran.
Yeah, exactly. To go after him right away. So I'll say no, nothing serious. But
if there's a guy to do it, though, Ottawa's got two. Ridley Gregg and Nick Cousins could just play hard on him. That's all it comes down to. And you should be doing that no matter what, because he's such an amazing player that you need to be able, because if you neuter his impact on the game, they don't really have another defenseman that can skate and move the puck. They got a lot of trees back there, but not a whole lot of puck movers beyond Roman Josi. And Brady Shea is kind of a hit or miss player at this point in his career, but beyond that, I think you can take advantage of their second and third pair.
Imagine Green just put McDermott in the lineup, started him first shift, and just let him loose. That would be wild after this 1000th game ceremony.
Takes some pictures after the game with a black eye. No. Hey, and Brady did say that Roman Josi reached out right away to apologize.
I'm sure he did, yeah.
It was a bad hit, though. That's a bad spot on the ice to be.
And he knows it.
Buckling a guy from behind. So, yeah, we'll see what happens in tonight's game. We know that it's two teams desperate for points. Both teams just on the outside of a playoff picture, looking to get themselves back into the mix. And we mentioned off the top of the show with David Perron's injury, 5 weeks brings you to right the day of. 5 weeks today, the Sens will play Detroit, the first game back from the Olympics. If he does come back for that game, he will miss 8 games. So considering the timeline, 5 weeks, 8 games in 5 weeks. They played 8 games the last 2 weeks, Pilsy.
Yeah, so it's really not that bad. Yeah, that is ideal.
Yeah. Final thoughts on today's show.
Final thoughts for me is yesterday we did a segment on possible trade targets, and we had a couple people comment there might be a right shot defenseman available that we didn't touch on. Zach Whitecloud would be an interesting name. Obviously just traded from the Vegas Golden Knights to the Calgary Flames in that Rasmus Anderson deal, but he's got a nice contract. He's a right shot defensive defenseman, and Calgary is probably looking to flip him again. He's only making 2.75 for this year, and then 2 years after. He's 29 years old. That could be a guy that could play nicely with Thomas Chabot, kill penalties. So that certainly could be an option for the Ottawa Senators.
And we'll continue following the trade market as the freeze. No more bets in between February 4th and the end of the Olympic Games. So let us know in the comments too. We got some great ones yesterday of guys who you would like to see join the Ottawa Senators. I would like to go a step further. Who should be the players or picks that Ottawa makes available to get one of these players? Because you got to give to get. And Ottawa right now, they found a bit of a rhythm here. We talk about Ridley Gregg and him stepping into a top 6 role and looking not out of place one bit. And with David Perron out, let's see how Stephen Halliday looks. One thing I really hope happens is Stephen Halliday's first NHL goal. He got so close so many times. I'm not going to say tonight, but I'm going to say during this call-up.
I want it to be at home.
Okay.
So get an assist tonight on the power play, Steven, and then get that goal when you return home.
Yeah, save the goal, buddy. Save the goal.
Save it.
All right, it's an 8 o'clock puck drop tonight. The live stream will start right at 8 o'clock. Pilsy will jump on with Jack in the first period. Callum Fraser will swing by at one of the intermissions, and I will join during the second period. So it'll be Jack and friends tonight on the live watch party, and then we'll have the postcast for you after tonight's action between the Senators and the Nashville Predators. Thank you so much to everybody for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. Please subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.